was a question from Brad. When annotating in layout, what's the easiest way to keep titles and window door tags in line with each other? All right, so let me hop back into layout and kind of get set up. Okay, so when you're drafting in layout, and I really I do like to keep all of my tags lined up really nice and perfect, right? So I think there's something to be said about attention to detail and creating your construction documents in such a way that they're very organized. And even if, it's not like the information would be lost if my door tags looked like that, but this says something about me as a designer or as an architect, or just if you're gonna have that kind of sloppy work on your graphics, did you really pay attention to what you were doing in the design? So I don't know, I think it just kind of says something about you to keep things nice and lined up. So let's take a look at how we can kind of keep things set up here. So one, let's see, and I'm just going to rattle off tips off the top of my head. So one thing you could do is move your precise move grip. See how anytime I make a selection, I get this precise move grip. I can position that on this corner here, and then I can snap it like to the midpoint of my window, right? All right, so then I could either do that for each one of these. That's one option. Let's see. But what I would probably do is I would erase these guys, and I'd put my precise move grip here, or I could even put it like right there on that point. Hold Control, click and drag. All right. So I'm clicking and dragging. If I hold Shift, it snaps, or it keeps me on that axis. So I move it straight down and straight down. All right, now another thing I would do, you don't want your door tag touching there, so I would just add each one of these guys to my selection, and I would hold Shift and tap the arrow key to the left. So that gives me like a 1/4 inch jump off of there. So maybe that's too much. So maybe I would just know that like I want 0.125 on that move. So that way I've got everything really nice and clean, and it's a little extra work, but it's not too big of a deal. If you're not quite that meticulous with your construction documents and keeping things lined up, there's another method. So like if you kind of get everything thrown into place where you want it, you could just like let's say that they're kind of bumped around like this. You could take each one of these, right click on it, and choose Align to the left, and that'll jump them all into place. So at least that way they have like that common edge, and that's going to look good too. So really the overall comment there is that this precise move grip, that really helps you keep things lined up. You can snap that to something and know that like, hey, I'm just going to do a 1/4 inch jump off all of my doors. Just try to make a rule and then stick to it. But I think just having a little bit of a awareness of that makes your drawings look so much better. This is kind of a not as well-known trick. Let's see if I can get this going. If I double-click with my select tool, if I double-click on a dimension, I can move this dimension. I forget the title of it, but it's basically like where that dimension string is going to sit, like how far back, So like maybe I set it there, okay? But it doesn't change anything because, see, this guy is still backed up. So now what I can do is apply this style to that dimension, this dimension style to that. All right, so to do that, I use my style tool. I soak up the properties here and apply them there. See how it jumped that back? And so now I can jump all of these guys back. You can see that each one moves. So that is a property of a dimension style. So that's kind of a less known trick. Let's see, keeping things aligned. The other thing is you could take each of these guys, right click and choose space vertically, and so that'll kind of provide a nice clean even space between all of them. So maybe if you would just adjusted like the front and the back edge, you could then, or I'm sorry, the top and the bottom tag, you can make all the tags in between distribute properly. So yeah, so hopefully that helps out with keeping those tags in line and really organizing your file. I think it's well worth the effort. As you're moving along, if you just make it a priority to keep things lined up, it's really not that much extra work, and it gives you just an extra moment to like focus in on what it is you're working on. Just make sure it looks right. Make sure you get that right information in there. Taking your time never was a bad idea, right?